Hey guys, I'm an alcoholic and Alex is my problem. And this is my story, how drugs and alcohol picked that guy you see apart, ripped it apart, and something, yeah, great, put it together again. And to begin with, born and raised in Germany, uh, my childhood was pretty amazing. I hear a lot of people, especially in addiction and recovery, saying that they had it way worse than me. Let's say it like that. When the first 5 years when I was born, my dad was on the highway, so he had with his dad a construction company with excavators and trucks and things like that. And he was always, I would say, at least 1 week away and just at the weekends at home. And my mom was working, so I grew up pretty much with my grandmother, which was a wonderful lady, really. And man, that belly came from her. She was baking and cooking like a goddess. And I loved to be with her, and her. She was yeah, she is my mom. My mom is my mom too. But the first 5 years, I can remember when she had me on her belly when I was sick, and yeah, the first good memories of my childhood came out of that time, right? And I was always crying like a baby when I had to go home, and yeah, it was a pretty good time with my granddad there too. He came from Austria, and we had an awesome time together. He was sharing his war histories, and you know. Anyways, no, that was my first 5 years. But from the beginning on, there was no. How can I say? Not much hugging in our family. There was. I've never ever said to a member of my family, of my physical family and my real family in Germany, we've never said I love you. We've never had that because I was mad at that at the beginning too, and I thought that might be perhaps a reason, but that's just not true, because when you see the bigger picture, my father was born 1945, directly after the war. His dad, my granddad, from my dad's side, this man, I've never came along with him, and let's keep it like that. He was in the war. He was a pilot, got shot down, and had open legs his life long. And his dad was in the First World War. It goes back in the history that there were times there was no loving her, there was no hugging her, except you were rich or and kind of that. But there was no such thing like I said. I didn't know what love is. I didn't know, and I just learned that when I sobered up. But that, like I said, that is not the reason, by far not the reason why I was drinking. And like I said, my childhood was great. I remember we went to holidays, skiing in Switzerland, Austria. We flew to Spain, to the islands, and everything. Our Christmases were just great. I had so many gifts and everything, and it was pretty amazing. And even though my dad was not there, he provided a good life for his family, and especially for me. And that's about it. I had a great childhood. And nothing really went wrong till. And I've learned that in my recovery, because you go back and you want to know, you want to find out why the fuck are you destroying your life willingly. It's like running with a laugh, with a smile, in a chainsaw. You get hurt. but you do it anyway, you know. And there was something happening when I was 7 years old, and my brother got born, and little Alex, here, at that time, was the middle of the universe. I was the firstborn, and I got everything what I want, and it was pretty great. Kindergarten, I had a lot of friends, and in school then, in preschool then too, and it was great. And then my brother got born, and I was 7 years old, and I know out of the blue, I thought I was out of the game, you know. There was all this attention about this new guy, you know, who came in my life, you know, really uninvited, and on top, and I love your brother, you know, I love you. And on top, he had a lot of issues, health issues. He had a lot of fever attacks, really severe ones, you know, and he had to go several times to the hospital. So you can imagine it's normal that everybody cares about that little baby, you know, and that little guy. But me in that time, I really didn't understood it, you know, especially like I said, there was no much affection, like I love you or hugging or whatever, and it was pretty easy for me to fall in that way of thinking, you know, which I felt after. So there was this little guy, and wow, it really affected me when I think of it now, and what I've learned now. It really affected me the first time, and it says in the big book that you know, one reason for an addiction is one important reason for an addiction is that you bring yourself in a position to get hurt some far in the back, you know. And that was my first time when I really got hurt, and I had regrets. I had resentments. I hated him with a passion at that time. I even remember that I screamed at him one time, that I wish he would have never, you know, been born. And that is wow. That is how far it goes. Even back then, my character defects, which really started to build it up at that time. And then after, like I said, my brother got born, and I was pretty much, the fifth wheel. My mom and my dad was never there. Like I said, even he stopped working on the highway, and he opened an own business in the town. He made foundations. He was home every night, and I say night, so it was working from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the evening. And my dad was never much around. My mom had a lot of work with my little brother, because like I said, that poor little kid had a lot of health issues, and she got in that time, and I found that out later, and she she shared that with me after she found out that I was an alcoholic, that she was painkiller addicted, you know. And I can remember that explains a lot, because it got some wild sometimes, at home, and I couldn't understand why she reacted so badly sometimes, and screaming, and hands were flying, and you know how it is, when addicted go nuts. And I couldn't explain that to myself, but now it makes sense, because I remember that she sent me always to the pharmacy to get 500. It was a jar like that, 500 pills, and I remember the name. It was Vivimed, and it was a strong painkiller. I still don't understand which fucking doctor, gave the prescription for that. I still don't understand. But that was back then, right? That was, I would say, around the 80s, late 70s, 80s. So he got born, and there was not much affection. And pretty early, I found my best friend, and his name was Michael. Rest in peace, brother. I love you still, and every day. And with Michael, I started to enjoy life as a young man. stealing cigarettes from my parents was one way to prove your manhood, and we did that. So we stole the first cigarettes, started smoking, puked our guts out for one night because we wanted to pull that thing on long, and that's how my journey into addiction began. Because shortly after, he came around with a piece of hash. And till then, I was scared of drugs. I was really scared of drugs. The alcohol was another thing. Let me tell that before I was a little bit too fast. I came in touch with alcohol very, very early because especially in Germany, it's tradition that your dad, when you're a son, that your dad gives you the first zip of beer when you're 5-6 years old, and I always was allowed to drink that, to suck up that foam on the beer, and I liked it. It tasted disgusting, but it made something with me which I didn't understand back then. I liked it. I liked the effect, because I remember I was giggly and everybody was laughing at the table and saying, "Look at the little Alex, oh my God, he's a little bit tipsy perhaps," and everybody, made fun of it. And alcohol was pretty much around 24/7. Guys, in Germany, you get 24/7 booze. You get it at the gas station, you get it in the grocery stores. We don't even have liquor stores because it's in the grocery stores, you get it, like I said, you get 24/7. You have booze there. And one bottle of vodka, just to let you know, a bottle of vodka is €5, which is about $7.58 Canadian. So you can imagine how cheap that is. For $20. You had drinks for the next 2 days. In my case, 1.5, 2 days. But I came in touch pretty early in the alcohol. But let's continue with that. That was just the first little hint where the journey is going to. With my friend Michael, I called him Gaddy. we had fucking fantastic times together, especially when he came around with that little piece of hash, and I was so scared, and he was like, "Come on, man, everybody is making it. We have to do it, man. We have to do it." And there was this pressure and everything, and the belonging, and man, we have to do it to belong, because we were both pretty addicted, and we were both pretty the same mind. We were brothers. We were brothers, and he is still my brother. And the belonging, and we had to do it, and finally we did it, and man, was that ever good? That feeling. I was with him there, and it was even better better than when we drank a beer or two together. That feeling was so fucking awesome. We were baked, laying there. It was in the forest. We went out and we had our place there in the forest, and we smoked that, and we were laughing our asses off. And like I said, it was pretty fantastic, that feeling. And shortly after, he came around then with the first weed, marijuana. And woo, we didn't know what that is. It just came over in that time. Before, it was just cheap, Turkish hash with plastic and whatnot in there, and you paid an immense money, amount of money for it, and at the end you got fucked over on top, and was just stupid at that time. And he came over there with a bottle of weed, and man, was that ever good. That was even better than the hash. And every time when he came around with another thing, because he had a good connection there, shortly after, it was speed, it was cocaine, it was LSD, it was ecstasy came out at that time, because Germany techno came up, and we went with that, with everything what was coming around. And every time when he came around with something new, I said the same. Man, was that ever good? And that was my problem. That is my problem till today. No matter what you give me, I'm not talking about booze. Because booze, that's normal. As soon as one drop touches my lips, I become that monster again, and yeah, and going back to where I was. But the other substances, you can give me everything, and I would say, man, was that ever good? And that's my addicted mind, and I was born like that. I tried to figure it out at the beginning of what it is, why I'm addicted, why I'm an alcoholic and everything. Nobody can tell till today, and perhaps until humankind is going down, nobody will tell. But that's not important. I was born as an addicted, and I will die as an addicted with a highly addictive personality. And it's going so far. You can give me 12 muffins. You know, my favorite muffins, blueberry. I eat these 12 muffins till I puke. And that's how far an addiction goes. And me, I am like that. You can give me everything, and I go for it, but 100%. Destruction, full flag. That's my mind. That's my addicted mind. That's my obsession of the mind. And but back then, I didn't know that we wanted to just belong. So we tried everything out, and man, we did so many drugs. And it was unbelievable. It was really unbelievable. We had a good weekend. Saturday night, we dropped about 4 or 5 acids, and there were 2 or 3 grams of coke. There were ecstasies, so many ecstasies when we went out for the club, or it was brutal, and it was such a insane time. Because I lost myself in there. I didn't even know what life is anymore in between her, because it got so overwhelmed with the drugs. We were high 24/7, even when we were working. It was just brutal. I don't know how we survived that, and pretty soon we had to pay for the drugs that we wanted to have, right? So we started selling drugs, and that was a crazy story. No, not his. We found a dealer who gave us the material in advance, that we don't have to pay. And I was so high on speed when I was talking with him. I really convinced that guy that we have about 6,000 customers, and can sell kilos in about half an hour, so crazy. And these guys were not the funny guys, when you fuck up with these guys, they fuck you up 100%, and we knew that, So I made the deal with this guy, and we got, as I remember well, I think it was 50 grams of amphetamine, speed. It was 30 grams of coke, it was 500 ecstasy pills, and it was 200 grams of good marijuana. So it was not just for $5, Well, what do you know? We got so high on our own supply. We didn't sell shit of that crap. So 2 weeks after I got the first phone calls, concerned phone calls, which ended up to very angry phone calls. And then it ended up that some day, and I lived at my parents' house, and my Getty was there too, and we were up there in my room under the roof, and like I said, my parents were in the first level of that house, and then the bell was ringing. The ring was belling. The bell was ringing, and I went, hey. Calm down, you asshole, you fuckers, or I kill you. Where's my money? And I was looking down there at the window. There were 2 cabinets, walk-in cabinets in front of the gate down there. And I could see them, and they could see me. And they had guns. He showed me the gun. And calm down here. And I said, what the fuck? What the fuck? Hey. So at the end, my father, heard what's going on, and my dad at that time, he was I don't know, a mix out of a bit pit bull, Chihuahua, German Shepherd, angry fuck, because it went well at that time with the business, and he was grumpy all the time, and woo, he went out there. They didn't show the guns to him, but holy fuck, he screamed at them and everything. And with that, thank you, higher power. With that, it was done. I've never heard from them anymore. They gave me one message, bring me the money. And that was it. So I lived pretty much in anger or in fear, my butt and me, for the next couple of weeks. But like so many times, we went away, we got away with nothing, you know. Like I said, our drug consumption, the amount of drugs we took got pretty much out of hand there. And it's very bad. My hook on her was the coke and the speed. And when you're 7 days awake and the nights too, you end up with fucking talking a plant in the middle of your living room, which happened to me. I had the plant in my hand and I was screaming at a plant till he got in and said, well, dude, what are you doing? I said, I have a fucking conversation. I said, so shut up. And I looked back and I snapped out of it and I saw that I have my fucking plant in the hand. It was kind of a palm thing or so with the pot and everything. And I had a pretty, angry conversation with that plant. I don't know till today what that plant, said to me or what was the problem, but insanity, pure insanity. I lost total control in that time about, of everything. My finances, my life. I could barely hold my job. It was just bad shit, crazy. And the funny thing is, what I figured out after when I started drinking her, when I was drinking her, I was always, and a lot of times, even crying at night, please, I want to stop. I want to stop. I can't anymore. But amphetamine, speed, coke, no. They don't let you think that. For me, speed and coke was like a snake in the back of my brain, snore me, and there was absolutely nothing I could do. Speed was the most powerful drug I've ever got addicted of. Ever. I had 15 grams of speed. They were gone in 1.5 days. I snorted every half an hour. It was just unbelievable. I was out of my mind. Sometimes I woke up in the morning, I looked at my computer, 1 million pages were open. I was in the BIOS and I destroyed several computers like that. Several laptops too. 2 laptops at that time and 1 big computer which I got from my brother. Totally fucked up and I don't remember shit. I remember one time I was so high on speed that I really believed that, do you know guys, the 70s show, Red Foreman? He was sitting with me in another chair beside me. I remember I had a conversation with him that was unbelievable. I woke up and I remember I had a conversation with Red Foreman and I was thinking, are you nuts, Alex? No, I'm not. Woo! Let's call Red again. It was crazy, guys. It was crazy. I had absolutely no control, and that was the moment when I told Michael, when I told Getty, I said, dude, listen, we make a promise now. We take every shit what's coming around. Can't stop anyway, and it's way too much fun, right? Fun, destroying your life. That's what I thought. Fun, destroying your life. Fun. So I said, we have a lot of fun, right? So, but let's swear, that we never, ever inject. No matter what, no heroin, no what. I snort heroin. I snorted one time. I had to puke like an idiot and didn't give me anything except the ugh, He said yes, but he broke it. So, and at the beginning, I didn't even saw it, because he was a pretty smart motherfucker, and we had to cover up a lot of shit in our life, in regards to our parents and when we stole from them and to finance our drugs, or when we stole, from people, or when I stole the new mountain bike of my little brother and sold it and told him it just went away, and even when my dad and my mom had screamed at me, "Where's that fucking bike?" It wasn't the garage, and I said, I don't know. And the night before, I took it out and just sold it for $50. Just for another line, right? So he was a pretty smart motherfucker, and he didn't push it in the arms. He went right away between the toes. I didn't even know that he can push there. And I love you, man. I still love you. And I was so angry at him. I was so fucking angry at him. I thought, why did you stop? Why did you do that? And I knew exactly at that time, because of all the drugs I've taken, I'm dying on that shit when I even try, because I would say again, man, was that ever good, right? And yeah, he didn't do it right. He couldn't stop. And I understand him, today, because I was not hooked on speed and cocaine as much as I was hooked on alcohol later, and I know how hard it is, how fucking hard it is to get out of that. Well, it went on for a year, and well, shot himself to death, the last injection. It was too much. It was the golden one, and that's how I lost my best friend. And that day I swore to myself that I never, never, ever let somebody as close to my heart as him. Never. Because I couldn't understand it. And even though I tried everything. I even said, we go together, we go to detox, we have to do something. No, it's all good. I can't stop. Promise me? Yeah. Right. That was also the day when I stopped with everything, without detox, because that broke my heart. That really broke my heart, because I loved that guy more than I did than I loved my parents or my real brother. We went through so much shit, but that's what addiction makes, takes away everything. Yourself, it destroys the people around you. And it is like that, for fuck's sakes. It is like that. It is brutal. It is fucking brutal. And it's not like you go around and shoot the members of your family. No, they suffer. They suffer a long time. I remember my mom staying in between her when we talked after I got sober. And she said, I didn't even know sometimes if you're still alive. So that was how I lost my best friend. And that's how I stopped with the cocaine. That's how I stopped with every chemical drug. From that day on. It was a little bit speed after, but I never got hooked on again, because I already thought of him back, And I didn't get hooked on it because pretty much after, an addicted mind had always searching for a replacement. And I figured that out pretty soon when I started drinking, or liking alcohol. It started pretty much after my butt died, and like I said, I started with everything. I stopped with everything, and my mind went nuts. First of all, the resentment, towards myself, because I really thought it's my fault. I couldn't do anything. He made this decision by himself. Like I made the decision to destroy my life after. Period. I always had the chance to stop earlier. Always. But I just decided not to. So I started drinking, and then and my journey into alcoholism had began. Like I said, I liked alcohol from the beginning, and but pretty soon I figured out, or it was the case every time when I drank always the double or the double amount of the other guys, or even more, you know, and I always blew my fucking mind out every time. It was delirium, it was oblivion or nothing. Me was not just drinking 2 or 3 drinks, and being happy and woo woo woo. That was the first 5 or 6 times. So, but pretty soon I passed that state right away, because I had already 6 beer in there when I just needed to. And that's one thing of an alcoholic, we're always chasing after that beautiful moment, when you have 3, 4 shots and Alex came out to play. I got talkative, and I felt, that I belong. It was like that. When I came into a party, and I didn't talk much. I was standing there. I didn't know the people, most of them, and what should I talk and yeah, and but give me 5 shots, 5 shots, man. Alex came out and played, and I was the middle of the attention, because some people say I'm a funny guy, and I love to make people laugh, and yeah, that was always my thing, and that's why I told you that with my brother, I was not in the middle of the attention anymore. I have not also a problem with belonging that time, in my youth, because I was skinhead, I was punk, I was goth, I was a popper, techno freak, and at the end I found the metal family rules, and yeah, and I had always that problem with belonging. But not only that, when I belong, I wanted to be in the middle, in the center of attention, and that's why I love to make people laugh, right? And I always loved that. Yeah, fucking crazy. Yeah. So when I have 5 shots, then I could go out and play. I was relieved of the bondage of self. I really, it is like that. I went out and play, and give me a half of a bottle of vodka. I'm rock the party. With shirt up, and it was great every time, when at the beginning, when I was drunk, when I was at a party or whatever. It was great. I had a good laugh. Other people were laughing, and they told me, "You're great." And when we were at concerts